participating, those that are watching, this is a non-PPR mock draft. I'm going to minimize my screen just so you can see all of the teams up on the screen so you guys can follow along, play along with us as we do our mock draft for July 24th. Welcome in, everybody. Everybody get ready. We are about to do our fantasy football mock draft. We have Bo Nose, Shade 45, El Pinche Humbo. That's cool. Andre, Jorge the Goat, Ben Barnes, and Fumble Sports. We are doing a 10-team non-PPR snake mock draft right now, everybody. Okay. Want to make sure no one else hit me up on Instagram about getting into this fantasy football mock draft? Nope. This is our entire group. So, with that said, let's get to work, everybody. We got a mock draft to do. I am going to randomize the order. Randomizing. Boop, 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 boop. We have randomized. We are now drafting. Fortunately for me, Ben Barnes is not drafting right in front of me like yesterday because he absolutely crushed me, taking a lot of the players I liked ahead of me. So, with that said, let me close that. And we have a mock draft to get to, everybody. Are you ready to go? Are you ready? Are you set? And let's mock draft, everybody. Let's get it going. We are underway. Team 1 takes Justin Jefferson. Bo Nose is on the clock, everybody. So we are doing a non-PPR snake draft involving 10 teams. Bo Nose is the next pick on the clock. Bo Nose. Justin Jefferson went first. Interesting how many mock drafts I've done in which Justin Jefferson has gone first. Very surprised that a wide receiver has now reached the point where he's number 1 in a fantasy football mock draft. Bo Nose takes Austin Eckler. Bo Nose, you know I love Austin Eckler this year. He's been the one I've taken off the board most frequently. Let's see where Ben Barnes, my great villain, goes to. And yes, I give Ben Barnes a hard time because he's my CFO, so we have a great time. Christian McCaffrey off the board, smart play. By the way, we're getting a question from Griffin Carey. Hey, I offered Metcalf and Burks 2025 third for A.J. Brown and Sutton. What do I think? I think you probably gave up too much. I think you gave up too much in that trade. We have our first tight end off the board with Travis Kelce. Bijan Robinson in a non-PPR comes off the board very early. Looking at the running backs, not crazy about the running backs that are available. But as you guys know, I usually like to take a running back with my first overall pick. The one I've been leaning towards pretty heavily has been Nick Chubb. I'm going to stay with that. Nick Chubb comes off the board. If Bijan hadn't gone to Jorge, I might have gone Bijan Robinson. But since this is a non-PPR draft, I actually like taking Nick Chubb. Given that Bijan will be better as a PPR player, I think Nick Chubb was actually good value where I got him. So we have 2 wide receivers off the board, 4 running backs, and 1 tight end. With El Pinche up on the draft board, the clock is ticking, and he takes Tyreek Hill. Bit of a run on wide receiver now as we get Hill and A.J. Brown coming off the board. Shade 45 is now up. IP Shade 45. Great to have you in our mock draft today. Again, we do a mock draft almost every day, everybody, at about 1:30 Eastern Time. Almost every day we will be doing a mock draft, and we post it to YouTube every day so you guys can rewatch it. IP Shade 45 doubles up on running back. Taylor and Stevenson, I think that's a smart play. By the way, Team 9, which is an auto draft, they took Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp is probably the player in my auction draft that I will nominate first and I will not bid on. I think Cooper Kupp is going to have a disappointing year given his standard of play over the past few seasons. I think Cooper Kupp could actually be someone that you could kind of bait people into taking and see how they do. Griffin Carey, to your question, if you could get Metcalf, Burks in a 2025 pick, I like them more than Brown and Sutton, actually. I like that more than Sutton. Appreciate you guys being with us. El Pinche is on the clock. Final few seconds for this pick. Who's he going to go with? Final few seconds, running out of time. Take CeeDee Lamb. So the run on wide receiver, you can just see, run on wide receiver has been happening in the first 2 rounds of a draft, a bit more than I expected. This is why we do the mocks. Now, I'm back on the clock. You guys know I really like taking running backs with my first 2-3 picks. That said, I might look towards wide receiver on this one, and I'm going to take Garrett Wilson. I might take him a little bit early here, but there's been a bit of a run on wide receiver. Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers might be a bit early to take this, but I don't think I'll get him in the third round, so I took him there. Rather have Wilson than Stephon Diggs, actually, believe it or not. Jorge took Stephon Diggs. So that run on wide receiver definitely happening. We've had 6 wide receivers taken in the last 8 picks. It tells you wide receiver, really important to draft them early. I still think running back is the number 1 position to focus on, but wide receiver certainly number 2. That's why I'm interested why so many tight ends or quarterbacks are coming off the board early. I think that's a bit of a mistake. Andrew takes Josh Jacobs, a nice little team Andrew's building. By the way, Evans is better value in non-PPR than PPR, in my opinion. Interesting call, Tito's full send. Ben Barnes takes Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a great pick. For me, it was really between Wilson, Diggs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, so I definitely applaud Ben Barnes and Jorge, the GOAT, for taking those 2 guys next. Those were the right guys to take off the board. Griffin, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any fantasy football questions, never hesitate. Now, this is something I would want to make sure you guys don't do. Team 1, which is an auto draft team, took 3 wide receivers with their first 3 picks. No. That is not what you should be doing. I definitely would not encourage that. You got to get a top running back in the first 3 rounds. Otherwise, you are missing out. That said, Bo Knows is building a really strong team. Eckler, Henry, and Ridley. Love the 3 that Bo Knows has up on the board so far. Ben Barnes with a good group. McCaffrey, I feel like, was a bit of a force. You had to. Really like Amon-Ra St. Brown. It sounds like Breece Hall will be ready for week 1, so I like what Ben Barnes is doing as well. My great nemesis, also known as my chief financial officer. Andrew goes with Tony Pollard. I think it's smart to get your second running back. Good call, especially because you could just see, was Tony Pollard going to make it out of the next maybe 4 or 5 picks? Absolutely not. So I think Andrew made a smart call there, getting Tony Pollard when he could. Jorge is now on the clock. Jorge goes ETN. Really nice pick. Team 6 is an auto draft, so not surprised they went Kelsey and Mahomes, kind of building out a starting lineup. I think Mahomes in the 3rd round's probably the right time to take him, 3rd or 4th round. I wouldn't go much sooner. I need another running back. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs. Love what I'm hearing about him. I like him more in PPR leagues. This is a non-PPR league that we're drafting for right now, but I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. If ETN had been there, I might have taken ETN over Gibbs, but the fact that Gibbs, to me, was my favorite player still up on the board makes it easy to take him. So I have my 2 starting running backs. I have a starting wide receiver. I like how Fumble Sports' draft is going. I think Jorge's done a nice job. I think Andrew's done a nice job. Ben Barnes has done a nice job, and Bo Knows has done a nice job. By the way, though, El Pinche, interesting that he took a quarterback. I still think you're now running the risk of only having 1 wide receiver through the first 4 rounds. I don't like that. I feel like you got to do better there. Team 9, 3 wide receivers in the first 3 picks. Have you guys noticed a trend? The teams that are auto drafting are taking wide receivers very quickly. I like that because it means more running backs for me. Okay. IP Shade 45 went doubling up on the wide receivers. Higgins and Metcalf, good call. Harris went next, then Walker. Fumble Sports back on the clock. Have my 2 running backs. Want to go towards wide receiver here. Love that Devontae Smith's still on the board. That's a steal for me. Love being able to take him here. So I have my 2 running backs, my 2 wide receivers. This draft is going exactly how I want it to go, given that I'm drafting 7th. That's a really good team for drafting 7th. Team 8 goes Keenan Allen. You can just tell Team 8, the auto draft, they're just trying to build a starting lineup. Jorge the GOAT goes with a quarterback here. A little surprised you didn't go wide receiver, but not surprised. Jalen Hurts, could expect good production from him this year. Andrew takes DeAndre Hopkins. I felt like that was the first reach I've really seen. Hopkins, I just don't have as much faith in his production, especially with Tennessee. Debo Samuel, Ben Barnes. I thought Debo was the best remaining player up on the wide receiver board, so Ben Barnes with a nice pick there. Ben Barnes is having a good mock draft, if you ask me. Let's see where Bo Knows goes next. Wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, or a third running back? I think wide receiver or quarterback here. I really think wide receivers the play, but let's see. We've had 3 quarterbacks taken so far, only 1 tight end. I think I told you guys, I would wait on tight ends. I'd wait on quarterbacks. I think there's some value. Bo Knows goes Amari Cooper. Team 1 takes Burrow and Mark Andrews. By the way, Team 1 doesn't have a running back yet. So the mock draft is the auto select is got its head up its butt fumble, that's for sure. Bo Knows back on the clock. I think Bo Knows is having a really good draft. Eckler, Henry, Ridley, and Cooper, those are really good picks given where you were drafting. Eckler was 2nd overall. Henry was the end of that 2nd round. Ridley, I think Bo Knows is having a nice draft. Adds Justin Herbert as his quarterback. Ben Barnes, where does he go? We've now seen 5 quarterbacks taken. Will there be a run on quarterback in round 5? Still think it might be a little early. By the way, Diego, great to have you in the mock. Drake London, I think that's a nice pick from Ben Barnes. Maybe a round too early, but given how wide receivers have been gobbled up by Team 1 and Team 9, not a bad play. Andrew is next on our clock. Ben Barnes, the only suggestion I would make is I'd rather have 3 running backs than I'd rather have 3 wide receivers. Just something to think about. Andrew is on the clock. Will he add some depth? Will he go towards a different position? Let's see where Andrew goes with this. He's taken Lamar Jackson. That was the quarterback I was going to take. If Lamar was still on the board, I would have taken him. Jorge takes Hawkinson. 2 players I really like were Lamar and Hawkinson, so not happy with how things are playing out now. I got to take Trevor Lawrence. Quarterbacks are going too fast for me. I don't want to get shut out and get stuck with Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott like yesterday. I'll take Trevor Lawrence. So I got my quarterback probably around sooner than I would have liked, but felt like I was forced to. Diego, also known as El Pinche, is on the draft clock. He went with a couple wide receivers early, Hill and Lamb, like those 2. Then Allen and Walker. Feel like he's got to go running back right now. Aaron Jones on the board, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Dameon Pierce, Cam Akers. Those are the top 5 running backs. Feel like you need that second running back by if you don't have 2 running backs by the end of the 5th round, I think you're in a tough spot. I think it's just hard to get good value. Aaron Jones goes next. Team 9 gets another running back in Dameon Pierce. Harris and Pierce are okay 1-2 punches given how Team 9 kind of played out the first couple rounds of this one. Now IP Shade 45 is on the clock. He's got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. Is it quarterback time for Shade 45? Is it tight end? Is it some depth at running back or wide receiver? Let's see where IP Shade 45 goes. Again, back-to-back picks in this snake draft. But Fumble Sports does a mock draft every single day, so if you guys want to be a part of our mock draft, just DM us, But Fumble Sports on Instagram, or watch our show from noon to 1, and we will give out the link every day. So IP Shade 45 got his tight end. 4 tight ends off the board. Judy, Moore come off next. Run on wide receiver here. That's why I'm happy I got my 2 wide receivers when I did. Let's look at tight end. Kyle Pitts is the next one. Do I really want Kyle Pitts? I'd rather wait another round to get a tight end. I think that's probably the better move. So, wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Watson, Godwin. Not crazy about him. Running back is where I've got to go. I'm going to go with, this is tough for me, Joe Mixon or Miles Sanders. I kind of like both of them. I feel like Joe Mixon's probably more prone to injury, so I'll take Miles Sanders and I'll get my 3rd running back. Joe Mixon goes next, so I'm glad I got my running back when I did. Feel like by the time you get to round 7, really important that you have 3 running backs. It's important to have 2 by round 5, 3 by round 7, because once you get past round 7, really, really hard to be able to get a good running back. Jorge takes Terry McLaurin, adding to his team. I think that's a good pick. His 2nd wide receiver. He needed a wide receiver. That's a good play. By the way, Jorge now pretty much has his starting lineup, and it is a solid one if I do say so myself. Andrew now on the clock. Andrew goes Dalvin Cook. Interesting that you took Hopkins and Cook, both players who we kind of have some question marks about how they're going to play this year. So interesting you took both of them. Ben Barnes takes Cam Akers. He needed a running back for depth. Good call. Bo Knows is now on the clock. Bo Knows took 2 running backs, then 2 wide receivers, a quarterback. If he went with a tight end, I wouldn't be shocked, but I think depth at running back or wide receiver is probably more valuable. Let's see where Bo Knows goes. Pacheco, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Getting that player for depth at the end of the 6th round. Mike Williams and James Conner go next. Bo Nose is back on the clock. He takes Kyle Pitts. I was hoping Kyle Pitts would fall to me in this round, but I think that's a good pick. I think Kyle Pitts at round 7 is appropriate. I thought round 6 might have been one round too fast. Round 7, I think that's appropriate. Kyle Pitts, I do like that. I will be looking at tight end. That's a position of need for me in this round. Now that I've got my three running backs, tight end would probably be the only position I really need. Wide receiver depth would probably come in second. I think London might have gone a bit too high, but I think that Ben Barnes knew he needed a wide receiver in round 5. So we've had Swift, Waller, White, and Godwin go next. I have my pick now on the clock. At wide receiver, there's really nobody that I'm like gaga about, so I will go tight end. Dallas Goedert is probably the best pick here, probably what I should go towards. I'm gonna take Dallas Goedert, but I'm definitely gonna take a second tight end at some point in this draft. I will get a backup tight end over the next maybe 3 rounds. Diego El Pinche gets Freiermuth. Watson goes next. So IP Shade 45 is now on the clock. IP Shade goes Madison. That's a good pick where he got him. End of the 7th round, I think that's a really good pick, IP Shade 45. To get Madison as your 3rd running back, I think that's good depth. Good depth. Godwin over Evans, I think so, Tito's Full Send. I think Godwin is the better pick over Evans. Team 9 takes Justin Fields. El Pinche, also known as Diego, is now on the clock. He has 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, could use probably some running back depth. Looking at the running backs on the board, Williams, Kamara, Montgomery, Cook, and Gibson. Like I said, by round 7, round 8, you really need 3 running backs rather, because if you don't have the 3, it gets really tough to find some depth. And again, running backs usually get hurt. So I'd rather have running backs in the first 7 than anything else. Where's Diego going to go with his pick? He takes Kamara. That's smart. Now, I already have my 3 running backs, Chubb, Gibbs, and Sanders. So I feel really good. I have 2 wide receivers. I've got Dallas Goedert. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go back to wide receiver, and I am going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Might be a bit of a reach. Some of you would say, hey, why don't you just take Tyler Lockett? Why don't you take Christian Kirk? I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have a breakout year. I would give him my Chris Olave of the Year award, the rookie wide receiver that I actually think is going to have a really good year. So I'll make a bit of a reach here because I don't think I'll see him next round, is Jackson Smith and Jigba. The run on wide receiver kind of goes as Michael Pittman goes next. Jorge, he's got 2 wide receivers. He's got 3 running backs. He takes Christian Kirk. That's a good pick, Jorge. That's a good pick. Drew, I like it. We're thinking alike. It means you're a smart guy, Drew. Let's see what Andrew goes towards here. Andrew's got 3 running backs. That's solid. 2 wide receivers. That's solid. He's got a good quarterback, a good tight end. Where does he need the depth? Probably a wide receiver. I'm glad I started this run on wide receiver. If you do snake drafts, it is so important. Much like the NFL draft at large, you want to be the team that starts the run, not the team that's forced to take a pick because of a run. Like right now, I know Andrew probably needs to take a wide receiver. That said, I hate being a team that's taking the 4th wide receiver off the board in a row, only because you're starting to lose the value from that position. Final few seconds, and he takes Tony. Andrew, too early on Kadarius Toney for me. Definitely a reach. He did suffer an injury yesterday. I don't think he's going to play the full year, not because of this injury, but just his injury history. But I do like his production. So Tony off the board. Ben Barnes finally takes a tight end, and it's a good one. Njoku in round 8, that's a steal for me. For Ben Barnes to get Njoku in round 8, he proved to have good numbers with the Deshaun Watson last year. I think that carries over to this year, especially in the red zone. I think that's a really good pick by Barnes, especially Ben. You didn't rush it. You could have taken him when there was that run on tight end in the 7th round. I like the fact that you waited. You got him in the 8th round. I think that's a good play. Juju Smith-Schuster goes next. Good call to take Juju by Bo Nose. Williams and Brown then go next. I hate Marquise Brown. I'm just saying it now. Marquise Brown is a player I wouldn't touch with a 12-foot pole this year. I hate the wide receivers for the Arizona Cardinals. That is a player I would not take if you offered to him for free. I wouldn't take it. Bo Nose is now back on the clock as we are over halfway through our fantasy football mock draft. Lockett comes off the board. Bo Nose, I actually love what you're doing here. Pacheco, Pitts, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Lockett. Those are good bench plays. I know Kyle Pitts will be your starting tight end, but I think this is a really good bench that Bo Nose is building. He's got a good starting lineup. I think Bo Nose is having one of the better drafts that we have right now. Nyheim Hines. There was breaking news this morning. Running back for the Buffalo Bills, Nyheim Hines, is out for the year with a knee injury. It was not on the field of play. He was jet skiing, I believe, and actually someone else ran into him, suffered a knee injury. It is not life-threatening, but it will cost him his season. So no Nyheim Hines this year. Ben Barnes takes James Cook. Not crazy about that, but a better pick now with Nyheim Hines out. I think Damian Harris and James Cook's value just went up because of that injury. Still think it might not be a great pick here. Still think that was a bit of a reach. Jorge the Goats is on deck with Andrew picking, and Team 6 is in the hole, and then yours truly, Butt Fumble Sports, is picking after that. We are in round 9 of 15 rounds. This is a non-PPR snake draft, a mock draft for all of those who are looking for some good advice on how to build their drafts. We've had a run on wide receiver, Myers, Evans, and Deontay Johnson. Fortunately for me, I already got my backup wide receiver the last round. I'm going to get another running back, and actually, I'm going to go Brian Robinson. He really impressed me last year. I love how strong he is, especially at the red zone. Think he could be a good substitute running back on weeks that I have a bye week or something. Think he could get me a touchdown, and that would be all I need. If you are drafting a backup running back and you play them, if they get you a touchdown, they gave you enough points for you to be able to say it was a good pick. El Pinche, also known as Diego, is now on the clock, and then Team 9 and IP Shade 45 will finish out round 9. Again, this is 15 rounds. Evan Ingram, Diego doubling up on the tight end, good call. That's absolutely where I was going to go in round 10 was a second tight end, and Evan Ingram was going to be that guy, so a great call by El Pinche Diego to take away the tight end. Doubling up on tight end is not a bad move, especially when you don't have like a Travis Kelce. If you have a Travis Kelce, then you shouldn't double up on it, but I think that's a good play. I think I probably could have gotten Robinson in the 10th round. I agree with you. I probably reached a little bit on that, but he was the player that I wanted, Jorge, so I was willing to draft him one round earlier than I probably should have just to secure him. Now I have my running backs. I have 4 running backs. That kind of sets it. Team 9 takes Montgomery. El Pinche already drafted the second tight end, so wouldn't expect him to go anywhere but wide receiver, running back here. That allows me to start looking at tight end. That'll be the pick that I make next. Good team that Diego's building. Don't like the running back position, probably the weakest area of his team. But other than that, really like the team that Diego is building. Think running back is weak, though. Diego making his 10th round pick. We have 5 rounds to go here in this fantasy football mock draft. We do a mock draft almost every day here at Butt Fumble Sports. So if you want to participate in these mock drafts, we let you guys at home join in on the fun. Just DM us on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. That's at Butt Fumble Sports on Instagram. You can join us every day for our mock drafts. Okay, I'm going to go with a tight end. I mentioned this to you guys before. I actually am not going to go with Dalton Kincaid. I've been crazy about Dalton Kincaid. I'm going to go Dalton Schultz, and I'm going to say that C.J. Stroud actually has a better year than people think. This is a second tight end, so it's a nice little piece of balancing it out with Dallas Goedert. I'll take Dalton Schultz. Gibson goes next by Team 6. Jorge takes Quentin Johnston. Nice rookie pick. Andrew takes Jamal Williams. Ben Barnes now on the clock. 3 picks left in round 10. Charbonnet, that's a good pick by Ben Barnes to get some additional depth at running back. He now has 4, 5, 6. How many running backs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs for Ben Barnes. He is making sure he has all the running backs. Where will Bo Nose go next? He's had a couple of wide receivers in his last few rounds. Those running backs are pretty hard to get now that Ben Barnes has kind of blocked everybody out. Penny, P. Ryan, Herbert. Damian Harris, again, might be a good sleeper pick. Guys, Damian Harris, that might be one with this injury to Nyheim Hines. Might be a nice play. Drew, I agree with you. I think Ben Barnes is in the trade position. By the way, Team 1 took Anthony Richardson. Guys, do not take Anthony Richardson in your drafts. It sounds like he's not going to start the season as the quarterback. It sounds like it could be midway through the year before he gets a start for the Colts. Do not take Anthony Richardson in your drafts. I think you will be wasting a pick. Bo Nose got a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. That's his second to pair with Justin Herbert. I think that's really good. By the way, Ben Barnes finally took a quarterback at Deshaun Watson, made sure he had enough running backs. I do think Ben Barnes is going to want to trade some of those running backs. Here's the problem. Who wants these guys? Akers, Swift, Cooks, Charbonnet? I don't think there's a player there that I would actually want. So, Andrew, I like the Michael Thomas. That's a good spot in round 11 to get Michael Thomas. Just as a flyer, I think that's a really good pick. So, Andrew, I like that one. Especially since you're kind of taking some flyers on Tony, Myers, and Thomas. I think one of those guys will pan out for you. Samaje P. Ryan went next. Then Brandon Cooks. I like that Brandon Cooks pick. It's too bad that happened right before me because I probably would have taken Brandon Cooks. I need a wide receiver. Fortunately, a wide receiver that I am frickin' gaga about. I love this wide receiver, and I am hearing out of early camp that this guy is on fire and proving to be the best wide receiver on his team. That's Zay Flowers, everybody. I'm hearing Zay Flowers is dazzling the Baltimore Ravens staff, is dazzling his teammates. I think Zay Flowers is going to have a massive rookie year. So between Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zay Flowers, I've got a couple of rookie wide receivers. I expect at least one of them to have a big breakout Chris Olave kind of year. El Pinche, also known as Diego, is now on the clock. Let's see where El Pinche goes next. What do I think about Jalen Hyatt? Not hearing good things out of the Giants camp. I actually think that he could be a draft and stash for the Giants, which means I don't think he's a good pick for you guys at home. I actually wouldn't take Jalen Hyatt. I think he is overhyped by Giant fans. I don't actually think he's going to have that much production this year. McKinnon and Penny come off the board, a couple of running backs. We are in the final 4 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of our mock draft. IP Shade 45, who got Jordan Addison with his 10th round pick, is back on the clock. He takes a kicker. So I still think, okay, IP Shade 45 does something that I think is a bit too early to do. He went kicker, he went defense. Now there's a run on defense. I'm going to have to take a defense. I don't want to, but I don't want to get shut out with the defensive plays. IP Shade 45 started the trend, and I don't want to get caught behind it. I am going to take the Eagles defense. I'm not really for taking defenses and kickers before round 13, but I just see what IP Shade 45 just did, threw a wrench into our draft by taking a kicker, by taking a defense, set the trend of defenses. I don't want to get shut out and get stuck with like the Browns defense, so I took the Eagles defense right there. Not normally something I do, but you got to read the drafts as they come along. I'm not for taking kickers and defense before round 13, but if you see that in round 12 you might get shut out, you got to go make a move. That's something I would also recommend, is have a plan for your drafts, but also be flexible. Kind of like, again, an NFL draft. If there's a player who's out there that you didn't expect to still be on the board, don't not take them just because you didn't have them. Try to build in a little bit of audible calling into your mock draft. Just enough flexibility that you could go get the player or team that you want. Andrew goes with Miami Dolphins defense. Ben Barnes takes Dalton Kincaid. You guys know I am crazy about Dalton Kincaid. I think he could be an absolute steal for the Buffalo Bills in their 2023 draft. I think he is going to be their version of Travis Kelce. find some room in the seams. I think Dawson Knox remains their kind of red zone primary tight end. I think Dalton Kincaid will be the between the 20s tight end. I think he could produce great production. Good draft by Ben Barnes there. Bo Nose goes Michael Mayer. Like that pick as well. There's been a run on tight end now. Now you would expect some defenses and kickers to come off the board. Defenses especially. Just given that we've had a run on defenses, I'm sure a couple of you guys don't want to get shut out. Jets defense by Bo Nose. That's a good call. Jets defense is a good one. They're going to play in a tough division. That's the only reason I like the Eagles defense more than I like the Jets defense is the Eagles playing in the NFC East. I think they're going to have a better opportunity against the offenses they're playing. Jets are going to play some tough offenses. Ben Barnes getting Cortland Sutton in the 13th round is a steal. Cortland Sutton in the 13th round is an absolute steal. He is a player I was going to target in this round. So Ben Barnes, nice pick. Andrew takes Odell Beckham Jr. I like that pick as well. Jorge is on the clock. Where does Jorge go? Seahawks defense, team 6 is taking Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to take a backup quarterback in this draft, at least right now. Still looking at other positions. I'm going to take Tyler Algier. That's a good sleeper pick. That is my 5th running back, and Tyler Algier, he had a good year last year. Just because they drafted Bijan Robinson, I think this is a really good pick with Tyler Algier. Diego, incoming sleeper. Josh Downs, that's a great pick. Diego, Josh Downs, I love that pick. Nice call. I think he could have a good year. Good call by Diego. Dulcich comes off the board with Team 9. Geno Smith is the quarterback for IP Shade 45. That's his second quarterback. He's pairing Geno with Dak Prescott. Two guys who could have good weeks, so not a bad 1-2 combo. Interesting what IP Shade 45 has done over his last 3 picks. Kicker, defense, second quarterback. Building out that end of the starting lineup and some depth on the bench. I think the Falcons' backfield is really strong. I also think Arthur Smith is going to force them to run the ball. I think he's going to be heavy on the run. Team 9 takes a kicker. Kind of tells me I need to take a kicker because we've already gotten 2 off the board. I don't want to get shut out. I'll take my kicker here in round 14. Like I said, rounds 13 and 14 are usually where I like to take my defense and kicker, so fine taking it here. I'll take Harrison Butker, just believing in the Chiefs offense. Carlson goes next, so the run on kicker has really started. You don't want to get shut out on the kicker, but then again, there are plenty of kickers to get, so it's really about when the run happens on kickers. You just don't want to get boxed out. Jorge is next. He took the Seattle defense his last time up. And he takes Tyler Bass. Andrew now on the clock. Moody, this run on kickers continues. Ben Barnes, he needs a kicker. Is he going to go there? He does. Koo. Bo Nose, the run on kicker. Will it continue? Bo Nose takes McManus. Myers next. Buccaneers defense, so the run on kicker was pretty strong. Bo Nose is going to double down on defense with the Steelers defense. Love that play. Really smart, really good play by Bo Nose to get a second defense to go with the Jets. Think that's a nice play. Zeke Elliott, that's an interesting call by Andrew. Low risk, high reward on getting Zeke right now. GOAT, I love Kmet where you got him. Round 15, Cole Kmet, that is a steal. Team 6, this is an auto draft team. Why would anyone draft the Vikings defense? They have more holes than Swiss cheese. Let's look. I want a wide receiver now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. I don't have a backup quarterback. I'll get one just in case, and I'll take Jared Goff. Jared Goff is my backup quarterback to go along with Trevor Lawrence. I love that. That's a good team. Diego goes Gano, Jaguars defense for Team 9, and IP Shade 45 after taking Laporta last pick. Love Sam Laporta. That is a great pick, and he takes Rice. IP Shade 45 had some questionable picks in the back end of the draft, but really good in building depth and the end of his starting lineup. Let's look really quickly at the teams. So Team 1, really heavy on wide receiver. As I said to you guys, they didn't get a running back until round 7. That is a failure. If you're drafting in a snake draft and you don't get a running back until round 7, just know you're going to lose. Just know that. Or you have to play the waiver wire so heavily. I think that's a terrible call, but Team 1 was an auto draft, so not surprised. Bo Knows up next. Love how he started. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a quarterback, got good good running back depth, then got Kyle Pitts. I really like this team by Bo Knows. I think Damian Harris might be a steal. I think Michael Mayer pairing him with Kyle Pitts is a nice 1-2 punch. Tua and Herbert, that's nice. McManus, a good kicker, and now with Jacksonville, so he'll get plenty of opportunities for points. And finally, 2 good defenses. Really like the team that Bo Knows drafted. Looking at Ben Barnes, my great nemesis, also known as my chief financial officer, Christian McCaffrey, Hall, Akers, and Swift. I feel like he got a ton of running backs. Other than McCaffrey and Hall, though, don't really like a third running back that he took. Brown, Samuel, and London, I actually like those 3. Think that's a pretty good trio. And Njoku was a nice pick, certainly a steal at round 8. I think waiting on Deshaun Watson is probably the one area where it's like you probably could have gotten a better quarterback sooner, but Deshaun Watson could have a good year, so I think Ben Barnes had a pretty good draft. The only area that I think he really struggled, waited too long on defense. Titans defense is poop. Andrew, let's look at Andrew's draft. Love Chase, Jacobs and Pollard. You're dealing with 2 guys who might not be starting week 1 depending on health and contract situation. Just be mindful of that. Dalvin Cook, we don't know where he's going to land. Hopkins, how is he going to perform in that Titans offense? I love Lamar Jackson. I really like Waller. I think Tony, if he's healthy, is a good play. I think there were some good depth plays. Thomas and Ezekiel Elliott. There's some good kind of risky plays by Andrew. Low risk, high reward. But I'm not crazy about the starting lineup for Andrew. I like the risk, but he'll have to get some return on that risk. Jorge had a good draft. Bijan Robinson, Etienne. Rashad White is your 3rd. Might have waited 1 round too many. I would have rather had a running back here instead of McLaurin, but still not bad. Hurts and Hawkinson, those could be 2 of the best players at their positions. Kirk, Evans, Quentin Johnston did well there. I don't like the Seahawks defense. Defense is probably where you missed the most, but I thought Cole Kmet, that was a steal late in the draft. Team 6, got Kelsey in the 1st round, Barkley, Mahomes, Keenan Allen, Dobbins, and Mixon. Just not, this is a team in which you feel like it's an all-star team from a couple years ago. Not as high on this one, so not as high on Team 6 as I go through later in the draft. Just don't like how they filled out. Vikings is their defense. PU, stinkage. Now, let's grade Butt Fumble Sports. How did I do? Love that I got Nick Chubb where I did. Might have reached a little early on Wilson, but I wasn't going to get him in the 3rd round, so I like that. I like Jahmyr Gibbs, I like Smith, and I like Lawrence. Maybe a reach on Sanders, but I really wanted that 3rd running back as well. Goddard, not the tight end I wanted. I wanted Pitts. He went earlier in this round. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Flowers, love these 2 rookie wide receivers. Love the 2 rookie wide receivers. Robinson might have been a reach, but I wanted some depth. Getting Robinson and Algier as my 2 bench running backs, I think is a really good play, actually. Dalton Schultz might have been of a risk, pairing him with Goddard. Don't know what I'm going to get with him paired with a rookie quarterback. Eagles defense, I took probably 1 round earlier than I would have liked, but I got a good defense, and I didn't get shut out by the run-on defenses late in the draft. Bucker's the kicker I wanted. Love getting Goff with my last pick. El Pinche, how'd Diego do? Love how he started 2 top wide receivers. Maybe took a quarterback early. Could have probably waited on a quarterback. But, okay, that's fine. Got 2 good running backs. Ayuk, not crazy about him this year, actually. I actually feel like after the top 2 wide receivers, the wide receivers kind of drop off. Not crazy about the bench. Not crazy about the bench that Diego built. Downs could be a nice play. I'm not big on Pickens. Maybe Ayuk and Pickens. That's why I'm not big on the 2 of them. So El Pinche, I like how you started. Didn't like the middle of your draft as much. I actually think the Cowboys could be a nice sleeper on defense, actually. That's not a bad pick. Looking at Team 9. Team 9 went 3 wide receivers in a row. Hate that strategy. Cooper Kupp, I just think he's going to be overvalued this year. Harris and Pierce, not bad, given that you were drafting them in the 4th and 5th round. But 2 more wide receivers, so you have 5 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds. That's just way too many. Justin Fields, getting him in the 8th round, that's a nice play. But you can just see, Team 9 knew that they had to get in on this running back depth. Took 3 running backs that I'm not crazy about. Team 9 auto draft, not a big fan. Finally, IP Shade 45 had a really strong draft. I really like Taylor and Stevenson. 2 bell cow running backs like that production. Higgins and Metcalf like those as well, getting those back to back. Kittle, like that pick. Judy could be a sleeper. Judy could be a steal of this draft. Madison and Dillon, okay, some power backs could get you some touchdowns. Prescott and Geno Smith, that's a nice 1-2 punch. Don't feel like you have a stud number 1 quarterback, but given the matchups they'll have each week, not bad. Reached maybe early on the kicker, but clearly IP Shade 45 wanted the kicker he wanted the defense he wanted, wasn't going to risk it. So I love Sam Laporta. I like Jordan Addison. Think you got some good value on the rookie players right there. Okay, everybody, that is our mock draft. But Fumble